Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday evening lesson here again on our YouTube channel. We're going to carry on as we did with the articles from that last Congress that we had. So, according to what is explained concerning love thy friend as thyself is the name of the article. All right, so let's see what we got. Now, this is a bit long. We'll try to finish it as best we can. If you have any questions, just shoot them through as usual. Okay, according to what is explained concerning love thy friend as thyself, all the details of the 612 commandments are contained in this rule. It is, as our sages say, the rest is its commentary. Go study. This means that by keeping the 612 commandments, we will be rewarded with the rule, love thy friend, and following that, the love of God. Thus, what does love of friends give us? It is written that by gathering a few friends together, since they each have but a small force of love of others, meaning they can carry out the love of others only potentially, when they implement it, they remember that they have decided to relinquish self-love in favor of love of others. But in fact, one sees that he cannot relinquish any pleasure of the will to receive in favor of another, not even a bit. However, by assembling a few people who agree that they have to achieve the love of others, when they annul themselves before the other, they are all intermingled. Thus, in each person, there accumulates a great force according to the size of the association. And then each can execute the love of others in actual fact. So, what do the details of the 612 commandments give us, which we said are in order to keep the rule, since the rule is kept by love of friends? Which we said are in order to keep the rule, since the rule is kept by love of friends. And we see that in reality, there is love of friends among the outside people too, the secular people. They too gather in various circles in order to have love of friends. What then is the difference between religious and secular? Okay, when he says religious here, he's obviously talking about those who study the wisdom of Kabbalah and not the religious public out there. We must understand the provision, because why? Let me explain that why. Because here there is only one commandment, as he says. Okay? Love thy friend as thyself. Okay, and all the details of the 612 commandments are contained in this rule. So there's only one rule, the love of others. Okay? Everything else is in there. Everything else are details of what's in here. So this is really important to understand. Otherwise, we won't be able to get out of this business of, what people are doing with their hands and legs and what we need to do inside us. So it's important to understand and realize that what we're doing is spiritual, and that's called Kabbalah. So Kabbalah for us is that action of the love of others. All right. The meaning that when a few people come together for the purpose of love of friends, with the intention that each and every one will help his friend improve his corporeal state, each anticipates that by having more meetings, they will profit from society and improve their corporeal state. Right? So this is what we see on the outside. When people get together, okay, in communities, in friendships, whatever, they aim to do what? They aim to increase their possessions. However, after all the meetings, everyone calculates and sees how much they have received from the association for the self-love. What the will to receive has gained by that, since they invested time and effort to benefit society. So what have they gained by it? So this is, again, important. Every time we come to the group to study the wisdom of Kabbalah, we have to also evaluate for ourselves what the benefit is. Okay, for us, as you know, the benefit is to elevate ourselves above our desire to receive. Other than that, if we come to the group to get some corporeal benefit, like, some kind of profit like the outside world, then this will not work out for us at all. One could probably succeed more if engaged in self-benefit, at least a part of his own efforts. But I entered the association because I thought that through it, I would be able to gain more than I could gain love. that I could gain alone. But now I see that I have gained nothing. So this is what happens with a lot of people. They come to the group, they want to get something, they want to attain something, and they start measuring, well, how much do I have? Okay, what did I get out of this group? Did I get anything? What's my profit? And they can't calculate correctly, or if they haven't clarified what they should be getting from the group, then it's going to be a problem. Then one regrets it and says, I would be better off using my own little strength instead of giving my time to society. However, now that I've given my time to society in order to gain more properties through help from the society, I finally realize that not only did I not gain anything from society, I even lost what I could have gained alone. So it's all about making the right calculations. Okay, this is really important. We need to understand that when we're coming to the group, we want to elevate in the love of others and not some other corporeal gain. And even our spiritual profit, our spiritual gain, we need to calculate it correctly, because a lot of people feel spirituality should be giving them some kind of elevated emotion, and it should give you a good emotion. That's true. But on the other hand, if there is a bad day, you can't just, leave everything and run off. Just like when you have a bad day in life, you don't throw yourself off the bridge. So a person really needs to build this relationship, this connection with the group, where what I'm going to give and what I'm going to get becomes clearer every day. Okay. And why I'm doing all of this needs to become clearer and clearer every day. When someone wishes to say that love of friends should be engaged in for the purpose of bestowal, that everyone should work to benefit others, everyone laughs and mocks him. Okay, this is also true. When you go and talk to other people on the outside, they think love of others is what? Is a joke. Okay, because it's not serious. For grown-up people, it's not serious to be engaging in this kind of stuff, loving others, all right? Who wants to deal with that? Nobody. But we have to understand that the attribute of love is a force inside of us, just like reception. Yeah, reception is a force. By the power of reception, we do things, we act, and we apply force to get what we want. So spirituality is the same thing. Love is a force. If you apply it properly, then you can also get benefit from love. Okay? But benefit, not like as in reception, but benefit in completing the whole system and actually elevating yourself above a state where you feel like you lack things. So it brings you fulfillment and contentment. It seems to them like a kind of joke, and this is the seat of seculars. It is said about it, but sin is a reproach to any people, and every grace they do for themselves. So unless a group of people have an elevated goal, like the love of others, everything they do will be for their self-benefit. Now, this also includes all kinds of socialism. A high goal means something above my current perception, above my current life. That's what a high goal is. So if I'm not aiming for that, like the creator, then I won't have enough juice, the fuel, the energy to push forward. He already mentions above that it is very, very difficult for a person to find fuel to move forward. And this is why he says we need to come together to have a group of people who can give force to each other. It's just like being, I don't know, it's like being in a team. All right, if we all support each other and complement each other, and then we can obviously move forward and fulfill our goal. If not, then obviously we're going to have a drama. Okay, so same thing with the group. Such a society detaches one from holiness and casts him into the world of mockery. This is the prohibition of the seat of the scornful. All right. Our sages said about such societies, disperse the wicked, better for them and better for the world. In other words, it is better that they do not exist. However, it is the opposite with the righteous. Assemble the righteous, better for them and better for the world. What is the meaning of the righteous? It is those who want to keep the rule, love thy friend as thyself. Okay, so despite the fact that we're not in spirituality right now, if we wish to maintain this law, then, we can be called righteous, okay? Not officially, but unofficially. Okay, why? Because a person is named according to what they want to achieve. All right, so this is how we can then kind of define ourselves. Their sole intention is to exit self-love and assume a different nature of love of others. And although it is a commandment that should be kept, and that one can force oneself to keep love is still something that is given to the heart, and the heart disagrees with it by nature, what then can one do to make love of others touch the heart? This is why we were given the 612 commandments. They have the power to induce sensation in the heart. However, since it is against our nature, that sensation is too small to have the ability to keep love of friends de facto, even though one has a need for it. Hence, now we must seek advice on how to actually implement it. The advice for one to be able to increase his strength in the rule, love thy friend, is by love of friends. All right, so this is the key thing. If I want to be strong in the principle, love thy friend, then the rule is we've got to apply it. Okay, we have to increase that connection between us all the time, because if you don't, you're not putting wood in the fire, and that fire is going to go out sooner or later. So the important thing is when a group of people are studying, what we have to do is keep feeding the fireplace with the wood. If everyone is nullified before his friend and mingles with him, they become one mass where all the little parts that want to love of others unite in a collective force that consists of many parts. And when one has great strength, he can execute the love of others. So if I get the strength from the environment, that's the only time I can execute this. And then he can achieve the love of God. But the condition is that each will annul before the other. However, when he's separated from his friend, he cannot receive the share he should receive from his friend. Thus, everyone should say that he's nothing compared to his friend. It is like writing numbers. If you first write 1 and then 0, it is 10 times more. And when you write 00, it's 100 times more. In other words, if his friend is number 1 and the 0 follows it, it is considered that one receives from his friend 10 times more. And if he says that he is 00 compared to his friend, he receives from his friend 100 times more. However, if it is to the contrary, then he says that his friend is 0 and he is 1, then he's 10 times less than his friend. And if he can say that he's 1 and he has 2 friends who are both zeros compared to him, then he's considered 100 times less than them. Thus his degree lessens according to the number of zeros he has from his friends. Yet, even once he acquires that strength and can keep the love of others in actual fact and feels his own gratification as bad for him, still do not believe in yourself. There must be fear of falling into self-love in the middle of the work. In other words, should one be given a greater pleasure than he is used to receiving, although he can already work in order to bestow with small pleasures and is willing to relinquish them, he lives in fear of great pleasures. This is called fear, and this is the gate to receive the light of faith, called the inspiration of the divinity. As it's written in the Salam commentary, by the measure of fear is the measure of faith. Hence, we must remember that the matter of love thy friend as thyself should be kept because it is a mitzvah, a commandment. Since the Creator commanded to engage in love of friends, and Rav Akiva only interprets this commandment that the Creator commanded. He intends to make this commandment into a rule by which to be able to keep all the commandments because of the commandment of the Creator, and not because of self-benefit. In other words, it is not that the commandments should expand our will to receive, meaning that by keeping the mitzvot, we would be generously rewarded. Quite the contrary, by keeping the mitzvot, we will reach the reward of being able to annul our self-love and achieve the love of others and subsequently the love of God. Now we can understand that what our sages said about the verse, Vesamtem, place them. It comes from the word sam, which means potion, as well as placing. If granted, it is a potion of life. If not granted, it is a potion of death. Not granted means that one engages in Torah and mitzvot to multiply self-love, so the body would acquire possessions in return for its work. If granted, one's self-love is nullified and he aims to receive a reward that is the strength for love of others. By this, he will reach the love of the Creator, that his only wish will be to give contentment to the Creator. Okay, so that sums it up in a nutshell. Any questions? No. Okay, so let's take this a step at a time, right? If we want to study the wisdom of Kabbalah, which Kabbalists are saying this is the way to reach a perception, a higher perception, called the perception of the Creator, or to have a soul, it means I have to start loving others, because loving others is a tool where I can actually evacuate my self-love. Right? So I can get out of my domain of self-love. The more I can get out of self-love, the more I can feel the Creator. I can become closer and closer to the Creator. So Rabbi says, well, that's all great, but how are we going to do it? So he says, on my own, despite the fact that I have an inclination, it's not really going to work out for me, okay, if I don't have friends to support me, because I'm not strong enough to defeat my own will to receive for myself. Okay, this is why we need others. Now, we also need others, not just to get strength, but I also need others so that I can measure myself. How am I going to determine and measure my actions towards self-love and the love of others if there's nobody around? Okay, how can I see if I can make a concession or not to loving others if there is nobody around? Right? And this is the big problem when people are doing all kinds of spiritual work on their own. They think they're doing something on their own, or they're doing something towards God or Creator or whatever they'd like to call it, but there's no feedback. Okay, because God doesn't give you feedback. He's not around. So the only feedback you can really get is the environment. And this is why the Kabbalists are saying, listen, if I have an environment, I have a measuring ruler. I've got a measuring tape. Okay, so I can start looking at what's going on with me. So the environment is a beautiful tool that can reflect and give me all kinds of details which alone I could not see, and I would not see, and I will not see. All right? And this is why it's really important to understand how we're looking at things with the group. It's not just for support, but it's to advance ourselves in such a way that we actually understand what's going on with ourselves, right? And in order for me to do that, he's saying, I've got to apply this rule. I can't just read about it, muck around with it. I have to actually do something to apply the things that I'm learning. And if I don't apply those things, then obviously I'm really not going to be able to find any kind of consistent development in the goal or in what I want to attain, because I'm not doing what they're recommending me to do. All right. Imagine going to school, they give you all kinds of things to do and you don't do it. Okay, you just use it as an intellectual exercise to know. And that's not really going to work out for you in real life. Okay. This is why applying these things in the group is really important. So I can get some feedback. I can evaluate myself. I can sharpen myself. I can also see myself clearer. I can determine which actions in me are really bad. I can determine things in me which I don't know what to do with. So I can just say, you know what, I'm just going to leave these aside for the moment because I don't know what to do with them. This is also a great benefit, okay, because it kind of gives you an understanding about how your behavior should really work out at a conscious level. Now, if I didn't have the feedback, I couldn't have a conscious level because I've got no reflection. Okay, it's like getting dressed and you're not looking at the mirror. Okay, you just don't know how you look. So the environment becomes some kind of a mirror where you can adjust yourself. You can kind of like evaluate your current situation. So that small force in us becomes really elevated, expanded when we have the environment which we can use as a mirror for development. So when a few of us get together, just like here now, right? There's about 24 people here, all of us. When we get together and we're talking about it, we're thinking about it, we're then evaluating inside of us as we read these things. Well, how do I need to approach the friends? Right? So I should pick up from the article what kind of things I need to do towards the friends. Okay, because otherwise studying this is not really going to make sense, right? So, for example, what does he say? By keeping the commandments, right? And there's one commandment. So I just have to keep one rule, love thy friend. Okay, so that's the rule. So we should all think about now, well, what does that really mean for me right now in this group? What does that really mean? Does that mean anything for me? Right? For most of us, okay, it's going to be blurry all the time because we don't really know what loving others is. I can relate to myself. I know what I love. I know what I hate. But that's the drama. How are we going to define this? How are we going to work with this? And so on. But that's the principle. So we should take. So we also all have to understand that we have decided, all of us together, to relinquish self-love in favor of love of others. So here's another principle. So I got to love others, and we have to relinquish self-love. All right, so that's another concept. So how am I going to relinquish self-love? Where do I need to make concessions, right? Okay, so this is a question mark. Where do I have to make concessions in order to connect with the friends? Because that's what relinquishing pleasure is. Pleasure is self-benefit. So if we all get together in order to achieve this goal, and if we all intermingle, which means our thoughts and desires are all intermingled, right? Then that gives us strength and the power to move on. Okay. And also what I mentioned in the middle of the article is also this. We also need to understand, everyone, how to, as time goes on, we'll get better at this, but we have to understand how to benefit from this intermingling with the friends. If we can't really get this right, okay, we're going to have a bit of a problem because by nature, every time I come to the group, to the lesson, to whatever we're doing, it doesn't matter, congress, blah, 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 doesn't matter. Every time we get together, there's a situation where we're always, thinking, well, what am I getting from this? What's the benefit? Now, this I need to clarify before I get to the group in the intention. Okay, so before I come to any activity, before I do anything with the friends, with the guys, whatever, we have to, we have to first think about why we're going there. What's the purpose? What do I want to attain? And if I don't have these clarifications, unfortunately, when I get there, I'll just get bored. Right? I'll get bored. I'll feel like, well, what am I doing here anyway? All kinds of, whatever thought comes to a person. And that's normally going to be negative if I don't kind of force myself with the right thought and the intention process. Okay. And every time we get together, if we get together with the right intention, every time we get together, what should happen is we should leave the group with more positive feelings and also with more strength. All right. So imagine like we came to the Congress, we met a Congress, right? We were all there with the friends. We had 2 days together. So, we got a bit of power. All right. We got some like a shot, okay, a shot of energy. All right. And now we're kind of like going with that shot. Okay. So we're kind of like pushing forward with that energy. And that's the kind of thing we need to get every time we're together with the friends. This is really important. Otherwise, we're going to get stuck somewhere and you're going to fall off the bandwagon. So clarifying while we're studying all the time and strengthening that idea as to why will be very beneficial. Okay, so it looks like we've got a few questions. Where are the questions? They're here. So Bashar is asking, how can a person understand that he has reached the stage of loving his friend as himself? Well, that's a big bite, but I guess it'll be a time when you don't think about yourself. When you stop thinking about yourself, when you start feeling life as a connection with your friends rather than with a connection with what you want all the time. Because disconnecting from me, from myself, means I'm always living inside the desire of the others. So I'm in them all the time. We'll get there. Not easy, but we'll get there. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. We're going to get this done. We'll start feeling it. And it's like when you're feeling hot and cold, right? All of a sudden you feel something different. So you understand something has changed. It'll be something like that. There'll be a sensation of a change in us where we feel different. We feel different towards others. We feel different about how we think about others, how we want to relate to others, and so on. Rightio. And that's it, right? Just one question.
Ingrid has a question. It's the one about Bashar's.
How come I don't see it here?
Okay, I'll paste it again.
Because it's not on Facebook. It's not on the messenger.
You can't see it?
No, I can't see it on the messenger.
Okay, she's asking, Ingrid, should one be integrated with the environment or group, even though one sees that one's actions are still egoistic and one can't overcome oneself?
It's impossible for one to overcome oneself. So we have to be integrated in the group all the time so I can get force to at least make an effort. Despite the fact that I'm failing, I can come to a state where I can actually make some kind of an effort if I'm with them. But if I'm without them, I've got no desire, no strength, nothing. Okay. But with them, I can, drag along myself, drag my feet along, do something, move forward a little bit even. You can do, but on your own, you'll just fall off. You'll just fall off. It's a nice question. So even if you have a good day or a bad day, it's definitely worth sticking your head in there. Another question from It's okay. If I'm having great feelings in the 10 and I'm having a great experience, how do I make sure that I'm giving my friends a good feeling and not just enjoying my own feeling? First of all, being happy with the friends is great. You should ask them every now and then, guys, what can I do for you? How are you guys doing? Can I help you? Can I do anything for you? It's good to ask people because it gives them a feeling that you care about them. Okay, so you feel good That's great. So give them a bit of that feeling by asking them, what can I do for you? How are you guys doing? Let's do something together. Or is there anything I can do for you? And that will also give them a good impression and some strength. It'll also show them that you care about them. This will also strengthen the love of friends between you guys. And it's 8:30, so we're going to love you and leave you, and we're going to join the group in our Zohar lesson. All the best. Have a good night. See you next time.